Hello. Welcome to everybody to the last installment of Stannery's Italian tastings before our En Primeur offer this year. A big treat, finishing with a bang today in Piedmont, with the wonderful Valter Vissore of Elvio Cogno joining us. We've had the pleasure of working with Valter at Stannery for around 10 years now, so I've had the chance to learn from him, see the changes that he's made to the domain and the changes that have happened over that period in Piedmont. Many things we could credit him with. I think the Rivera crew coming to prominence and getting the recognition it deserves, Valter can take a considerable amount of credit for that. Also, bringing us straight on to the first wine here, championing the Nascetta, is something that they've done at Cogno with great passion, and they've dragged other parts of Piedmont with them, and it's getting something of a following. So I will pass you straight on to Valter, who will give an introduction on a little bit of history about the domain and then talk to us about the Nascetta. As always, please do throw questions at Valter. Just type away and I'll interrupt him. I've got full permission to interrupt him. But Valter, over to you, please.
Hello. Welcome to everybody. I am here with my wife, Nadia Cogno, the co-owner of the winery. And together tonight, we want to show a little bit our wines and also explain a little bit what's happened here in Piemonte, in this corner of Italy, where it's very lucky to live, because we can produce great beautiful wine, and we are continuing the tradition of the family for fifth generation. And my adventure start in 1990 here in Novello with Elvio Cogno, that was not only the owner, the founder, but was our teacher. And from him I learned everything. I improve my passion, and thanks to him I have this possibility to work in this fantastic world and know many people and breathe a lot of emotion that comes only through the wine. Our winery is located in Rivera crew in Novello commune, in one of the 11 villages of the Barolo area. We produce around 120,000 bottles, so we are a familiar winery. We are very proud to be a familiar winery. We are very proud to be viticulture, because only to be being viticulture we can do a great wine, because we can follow and manage the grape from the origin, and we can build the quality from the vineyards to the bottle. We produce mostly of the traditional Piemontese wines that are Dolcetto d'Alba, Barbera d'Alba, Langhe Nebbiolo, and of course Barolo, the most important wine. But in this great red wines, we produce also a very special indigenous grape and white wine is Nascetta, that in the years Elvio Cogno saved to the abandon. And because this grape was located only here in this commune, Novello, and 300 years ago was very, very popular. And thanks to us, everybody can continue to remember, and because the quality of this wine is very, very special and very, very unique. We spend really a lot of effort behind this white wine, because we believe in this potential of, and this white represent a piece of history of this terroir, and for us it's really, really important. Of course, Dolcetto d'Alba is a wine that is our daily wine in Piedmont. Is a very drinkable and fresh wine that we don't age in wood, only stainless steel. It's very, very fruity wine, and we drink every day. It's our daily wine in Piedmont. Then you have Barbera d'Alba, and that is a very powerful wine, very rich, supple wine, a wine that aged really well and aged 1 year in wood. And then we have Langhe Nebbiolo, that is a wine that in the last years I spent effort to change a little bit the identity of the Nebbiolo, Langhe Nebbiolo, because mostly of the Nebbiolo that we drink in Piedmont are too similar as small Barolo, and this is a mistake from my side, because the Nebbiolo for me is a wine that introduced to the Barolo, and for understand the Barolo you need to understand the Nebbiolo. And for me, Nebbiolo is a very approachable and fresh wine that you can enjoy with all kind of food, also fish, no problem. Is a wine that is our wine during the lockdown, for example. My wife and me, every day we open a bottle and drink Nebbiolo, because it's not so much hard to drink and enjoy the taste, and you are not drunk too much after one bottle, so that helps.
And Valter, when you and Nadia are drinking the Nascetta, is it a wine you like to drink young, or do you like to age it, or what is your taste?
Nascetta is a wine that aged really, really well. This is the reason that we spend a lot of time behind this white and this grape, because it's not a wine that oxidizes. I opened a couple of bottles of 2003, 1 year, and 2001. And the wine was amazing, really, really a little bit gold color, but very fresh, with a lot of minerality, a little bit minerality and flint notes, a little bit more Riesling style, you know. That is the great character. That is a wine developed in the years, and mostly of consumer sometimes drink Nascetta too early, and this is a mistake from my side. Of course, we release probably too early. In fact, in this year, in 2021, we release just 19 now, and 2020 we release 1 year after, because we want to keep a little bit more time in bottle for get a wine a little bit more complex.
And to achieve the minerality, Valter, and the style, the Riesling, you described as Riesling-like style, there's no new oak, presumably?
It's a Riesling, and depends of the vintage. Sometimes show more Riesling character of Alsace, for example, or a little bit more, depends if the vintage is warm, show a little bit more Grüner Veltliner character, for example. But when age, you feel really this minerality, this savory and flint notes. This is very complex wine, yeah.
And whilst we're on the subject of vintages, this is the only 2018 we're looking at tonight. Could you tell us a little bit about that year?
Okay, we taste 18 now.
Please.
Okay, 18 is a vintage, probably is still young, my opinion, but is a wine that start to show beautiful complexity. At the moment, if you see, the color is very, very brilliant, a little bit golden notes, golden reflex, but and in the smell, you feel this beautiful Mediterranean character that you find this moment. A little bit of peach initially, when just open, and then I feel these beautiful white flowers and sage. This note of sage, rosemary, and thyme. This is typical of Nascetta. Especially when it's a wine is quite young. In the end, in the back, you feel also already a touch of salinity that is coming out, that start to have an evolution, and start to feel this mineralitic notes that is coming out, but needs a little bit more other years in the bottle, my opinion. What is really important that every time that you taste Nascetta, you find another wine. You know, is every bottle that you open, you have a more different sensation. That is really important. It's a wine that you don't discover the wine immediately. So it's a wine that you need to taste and retaste, and you enjoy the characteristic of the wine.
And you drink it on its own, or are there particular foods you like to have with it?
In the mouth, it's very powerful, fresh, rich. You feel this salinity that comes from the Mediterranean character, from our soil, this limestone clay. And it's a wine that have a really enjoy with many kind of food. I love with the fish, of course, but not too much, not lobster, for example, but very delicate fish, a little bit. Oyster is beautiful with the oyster, is beautiful with the burrata cheese, is beautiful with the tempura vegetables, is beautiful. Is risotto, rice is fantastic too. It's a wine very more gastronomic wine than is not great like aperitif, my opinion, more with the food, much better with the food.
Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned Dolcetto and Barbera, which we're sadly not doing tonight, but the joy of that is we get a lot more Nebbiolo tonight. So I think if we could turn to the first red wine of the evening, and you're obviously based in Rivera, but you decided Barbaresco was something that you wanted to work with. Tell us a little bit more about what you were thinking. What was the motivation?
Yeah, then we are talking about the king and the queen of the wines in the Langhe. So the most important wine that we have in the Langhe, and the most important wine of the Italy, of course. We have Barbaresco and Barolo, both example of Nebbiolo grapes cultivated in different region, in different location. And thanks to different location, you get two different wine. Barbaresco comes from a region a little bit smaller than Barolo, just 3 communes, and Barolo is 11 communes. So the area is a little bit smaller, a little bit warmer. Barbaresco is in a warmer area with more sandy soil than in Barolo. In fact, the Barbaresco is picked always earlier than Barolo. Normally, end of September, we picked Barbaresco. Since 2005, Elvio Cogno started to produce Barbaresco because it's our challenge to produce a beautiful Barbaresco. We are a Barolo producer for generation, but we love the Barolo. We love Barbaresco, another expression of our terroir. Beautiful terroir, and normally it's not easy that Barolo producer makes Barbaresco. Normally is the opposite. Barbaresco producer want to do the Barolo, but they consider probably the most important and powerful wine. But I love both. So this is Barbaresco Bordini that comes from Neive. One of the commune where the Barbaresco is a little bit elegant, a little more kind, and is a wine very approachable, but with a lot of complexity. I have the possibility to rent this vineyard in Bordini and can produce around 10,000 bottles every year. So this is 2013, is a beautiful vintage, a very riper vintage. And at the moment, I have tasted before that we connected with you, and I find this wine really, really enjoyable now. Very fun, with very fine tannins, very fresh, with these notes of menthol, of eucalyptus a little bit, and balsamic character, with a little bit of roses, dry roses petal.
It's an unusual wine for you in not being an estate fruit. Do you have good control over the farming, the picking date?
Yeah, this is very important to produce a wine so fresh like this. And look, the color is very translucent and is very rubin, very brilliant. We are working in organic way, and we are doing a really traditional style wines. We are making longer fermentation, around 30 days on the skin. So we fermented for a long time, and we extract a lot of tannins from the seeds too. And then we aged 15 months in large barrel, Slavonian oak, not toasted. In fact, you don't feel any character of wood in this wine. You feel the complexity and very deep smell. In the mouth, I feel this beautiful elegance, a touch of tannin, still a touch of tannin, but don't disturb absolutely. It's a wine that you can enjoy with the food ready tonight. 13 is a really ripe vintage. So one of my favorite vintage in the last years is 13. I consider this a black vintage, because you find this the more red large black fruit, black big fruit, like plums a little bit also.
Valter, I believe you took over in 1996. You mentioned the ripeness of the vintage, and some of the vintages we're going to taste are fairly warm vintages.
1996.
When you took over from your father-in-law, when you took over at...
The first vintage that I managed alone was 1995. Yes, 1995.
And the question is, in that time, you've seen Piedmont get warmer and warmer?
No.
Thoughts?
Not really. If I consider what's happened in the last 20 years, I am really happy of the quality wines that we produce in the last 10 years, much more than in the 90 years. So we became better viticulture. We take care of the vineyards in other way. Our knowledge is growing every year, and we have better equipments that help us to work better. We know our terroir much better, and we also, the approach to the viticulture is a little bit different. We are making more natural wines, so we are working in the respect of the nature. So we don't use pesticide or herbicide. So the production became more, in terms of quantities, is became more natural. We don't force too much the plant to produce more grape and then make a strong green harvest. That is really important. So the production is much more balanced, and you find this balance also in the wine. The harmony of the wine is become better.
So climate change for you isn't such a worry because the vines are that healthy?
So the climate is changed, a little bit warmer, of course, but not too much. And in the end, we adapted also our knowledge to the mutation of the climate. But if I see what's happened, I would like to have other 10 vintage like the last 10 years. So I love it. Great wines. There are years that you need to don't keep more leaves on the vine. So it depends. You have more protection of the sun. So it's another interpretation. So that is experience that is coming through the vintages.
And on that note, let's turn to the vintage that is soon to be released. We haven't released it yet, but we will do shortly. 2017. A successful vintage for you. Tell us more, please.
So since okay, this is the new vintage 17 Ravera. These is our flagship wine. Ravera is our cru. So Elvio Cogno was the first producer that wrote Ravera on the label and talking about the Ravera. And now the reputation of this cru is growing every year thanks to other producers too. That is very important. So we are no more alone. And that means we have done a beautiful job. And Ravera represents really our philosophy in this moment, our style, our recognition, recognition. So this is comes from our best winners, oldest winners, around 70, 80 years old. This is a blend of the two clones of Nebbiolo. It's a Lampia, 60%, and Miquette, 40%. Not mostly of you talking about the clone, but the clones are an expression of the Nebbiolo. Is a sub-variety, and Elvio Cogno talking often about sub-variety because we produce 4 different Barolo that come from the same cru. That is another challenge. So it's more difficult to produce 4 different Barolo that come from the same cru. But we show the difference from the single plots, and we can show the difference from the single clones. In fact, Vigna Elena, for example, is 100% Rosé clone. Bricco Pernice is 100% Lampia clone. I don't want to say that probably this is the best ratio that we can get, but absolutely is probably is the best example of personality wine that we can get. Is another things. So probably the best Barolo is if I blended the 3 clones together, probably I can get the best Barolo. But probably with more, we produce a wine with less identity, less personality. I love work a little bit in mostly Burgundy style in terms of the single plots, single winners. And Ravera is the first Barolo, was the blend of these 2 clones. Lampia, that is the most popular clone, and Miquette, that is more tannic, more austere clone of Nebbiolo. That is a mutation of a Lampia clone. And together we get a wine with a lot of personality, a wine with a lot of tension, a wine with beautiful linearity and character.
Sarah asked you, Valter, to say a little bit more about the Rivera cru. What makes it so special? What is unique about Rivera?
Rivera is a wine that, forgive me if I say that, but is a wine with a lot of energy. A wine with very brilliant, always like a wine, very vibrant wine. Thanks to the altitude, because we are here around 350 meters above the sea level, and we have a lot of limestone, not too much sand. So the wine shows the freshness of the altitude and the windy place, and great excurse in temperature through night and day that you find the wine. A wine with a touch of acidity, always great minerality, and a wine with beautiful elegance in the end. So not a powerful wine, but in the end seems to drink a wine more elegant than normal we expect from a Barolo. I love that because for me the elegance is a great compliment for a wine. And since 2017, I changed a little bit the style of the Ravera. This is a news for you. I think that this is the first year that I don't destem the whole cluster. I change a little bit, not fully whole cluster, but 30% whole cluster. So in fact, if you feel the smell of this wine, you feel this character of a little bit of more white pepper that comes from this, not this stem wine.
And Valter, will you make a decision on that in the future, depending on the vintage, or do you think you will always have a little bit of whole cluster now?
This is my evolution of palate. So I love the wines with more finesse, more complexity, and for do that, I need to do that. This experimentation, but I have already tasted wines without not this stem, full cluster, and I always find wines with great character, great personality. And this wine has a lot of polyphenol, is around 5,000 polyphenol, is a lot, but if you taste the wine, don't seem so heavy, you know. In the end, it's a heavy wine, but you don't feel the powerful, like it's a really complex, but a touch of finesse and elegance that's come from the stem.
And 17, an easy vintage for you, difficult?
The 17 was a beautiful vintage. So I heard a lot of stupid things about the vintage, honestly, because everybody talking about the warm vintage, the very overripe vintage. That is not true. The wine is very fresh. Of course, you feel the warmer vintage because a little bit warmer than 16 or 15. It's similar to 15 in the end. Probably, I think that 17 is a bit fresher than 17 in terms of acidity, and is a very. This wine for me showed the beautiful, brilliant character of the vintage, very freshness, great freshness, and this energy that comes from the Ravera. I love that because is consider that this bottle just 1 year ago is very young, and but already was still tannic a little bit, but not too austere.
And Tom makes exactly that point. He thinks it's so enjoyable now for such a young Rivera from you. Is that the vintage, or are we catching it at a particularly open moment, or do you think the 17s will drink relatively young for a Cogno Rivera?
Yeah, it's a wine you can drink, enjoy it also not so far. Of course, it's not in the top of the potential. And for me, this is a wine can age really, really well. Mm-hmm. I have no fear to keep this wine for a long time.
We will turn to the 16, but I'll just throw another question that's been asked of you. You talked about the changes in farming and winemaking. Biodynamic farming, is that something you would consider?
No, I don't consider to produce biodynamic wines. I want to produce natural wines. Biodynamics, mostly of biodynamics wine that I've tasted, maybe I was not too lucky. Was a little bit oxidized, not clean. So if that means to have a biodynamic wines, I prefer continue to work in normal way, you know. And of course, the respect of the nature is essential. The respect of what's happened around us is really important. Consider that we are living in the middle of the vineyards, so all our vineyards are located around the farm. So is my goal to produce natural wines because I want to preserve my health before any other reason. So, and that is not essential for me have the possibility to sell one bottle more of wine for the reason that I am organic or biodynamic, just because I want. It's something that I feel from my heart, you know, that is important for me. And in fact, I am not looking for the certification at the moment. Once we will do that, I can do, no problem. But that is not the primary aspect from our cultivation.
So we turn now to the 16 vintage. This is a vintage that did receive huge praise. What were your thoughts?
16 is probably one of the best vintage that I ever produced. It's a really unbelievable wine in terms of vintage, in terms of the quality that we get from Rivera, and is a wine very complex. It's, for me, has everything, this wine. The smell is a little bit more blue small fruit, like I consider a blue vintage. These are the, for me, so blueberry character, small black fruit, like black currant, ribes, mirtillo is black, and blueberry character, and the smell is so fine, so fresh. That very beautiful color is a wine can age 25 years, 30 years, no problem. And what is a surprise for me, and when I taste, I feel the tannins are so silky. It's like so the texture is so unique. This is a wine that fermented around 50 days on the skins. Super traditional wine. A lot of fruit, no any character of vanilla or woody notes absent. Absolutely, I don't like the oak notes in the wine, so I love the finesse of this wine. That is very complex and very unique, my opinion. Is a wine probably that needs other years to show the great potential of the vintage.
And it's your thinking that Vino Elena, Bricco, Pernice, Rivera, quality-wise, they're on the same level. You don't think of a hierarchy.
Yeah, for me, the three wines are three different expressions of the Rivera. So I never say that Vino Elena is better than Rivera, or I never say that, because for me are two different ways to drink a Barolo, and also three different expressions of the Barolo. That is this is the fantastic word of the wine, and that is emotion. Maybe you prefer one kind of wine, another person prefer the other, but probably there are three different ways to drink a Barolo, and depends also when you want to drink the wine and how you drink the wine, because maybe you have different food, sometimes Vino Elena you can drink in front of fireplace without food, and Barolo, probably Rivera is a wine that you need more food for drinking this wine, because it's more linear wine, you know, that Vino Elena is more elegant, more feminine wine, so more the smell is so important for Vino Elena in the end. That Bricco Pernice instead is a wine with more powerful and character, is more classic Barolo if considered Elvio Cogno, come from the core of the Ravera crew. It's 2 hectares. I produce 4,000, 5,000 bottles only. So it's a beautiful selection of Ravera. The microclimate of this vineyard is a bit warmer than the Barolo Ravera. Because it's more protected from the wind of the mountains, and we have more limestone, so it's a little bit more Serralunga character, because everybody knows that Serralunga, everybody knows that is more power, more bigger. Of course, the wines always show the elegance and the finesse of the Ravera and the freshness of the Ravera, but it's more classic Barolo. And tonight we have 2 different vintages, 2015 and 2009. So I choose 2009 because it's a long time that I didn't taste. And 2009 was a very warm vintage, and similar to 17, probably warmer than 17, 2009. This is 2 expression vintages, but of the same wine, where you find the richness of this vineyard.
How large is the Bricco Pernice vineyard, Valter?
Bricco Pernice is around probably exactly, I don't know, is around 5 or 6 hectares, because 2 hectares is mine, and the other 3 hectares is from the top, is from Vieti.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have another producer, but probably don't make wine. Bricco Pernice is a monopoly of Elvio, Cogno and Vieti at the moment. Okay.
And we've got to think in terms of the vineyard site and the clones. With Bricco Pernice, we're Lampia or?
Lampia, 100% Lampia clone, 100%, yeah. And Bricco Pernice age 1 year more in wood than Ravera, 36 months. In fact, we released this year 16, a wonderful vintage again. And so we have produced only 4,000 bottles in 16. And now we have 15 here and 9. 15 is, I love this vintage for Bricco Pernice, because you feel a lot of red fruit, small red fruit, cherry notes, sweetness. You feel the sweetness character of the vintage. And the wine is, you have this beautiful acidity in the taste, in the back, and but it's a wine so long after taste. This is a really rich wine. I love it. Tonight, probably one of my favorites until now.
Looking at these 3 vintages next year, the 15, 16, and 17, did the picking dates vary very much?
About Bricco Pernice?
When you started picking?
When we started picking, we picked 16. 16, we picked beginning of September. Beginning of October. Sorry, I have the phone that is beginning of October, 10 October, 16, 15, 15 beginning 3-4 October, and 17 also 3-4 October. It's the same time.
Okay.
For example, 2020 we picked again 12 October, 10-12 October. It's quite later again, 2020. It's very similar 16, 2020.
We've got a great comparison here, Rivera and Bricco Pernice. Same Bricco Pernice, more aging potential or similar?
Bricco Pernice is the first vineyard that we picked every year, and the last vineyard that we picked is Vigna Elena. Through Bricco Pernice, Vigna Elena can pass around 2 weeks. That is a long time in harvest. It's very long time because the clones is different. The first is Bricco Pernice because it's a warmer place, and then Ravera, and the end Vigna Elena. What is the question? Sorry.
The ageability of Bricco Pernice and Rivera. Would you keep one longer or not? Or
oh, it's a long. Both is very longer.
Similar.
Similar. Yes. Probably Rivera could be also aged much more than Bricco Pernice.
Sarah asked a question. Valter,
yeah.
I know when you first met Jason, he came to your cellar and there was Domaine Gouges and Burgundy in your cellar. And you've talked about the style of wine you like to make, of elegance and refined and the seductive style. You're a lover of Pinot Noir. Would you ever want to make Pinot Noir?
For me, the best. Okay, Noir. You are not record this tasting. You know?
I'm afraid we are recording it. Yeah, it's on record. Yeah.
I never say that. No, I love the best grape of the world for me are Nebbiolo and Pinot Noir for red wine, and because the finesse and the elegance of Pinot Noir is fantastic and are really unique. The Barolo for me have a lot of elegance and finesse like Pinot Noir, but have more complexity. My opinion, a little more power. And of course, this is my art. I am a Barolo producer, but I am very objective. I am not. I not close my eyes and talking with the heart only. I talk with the mind. Okay, and anyway, Barolo and Nebbiolo, everybody knows that are cousins, and most of the aspect you find in common. So I love to have Barolo with the finesse of Pinot Noir, but of course I'm looking for the terroir of the Barolo. I don't want to say that Barolo is like Pinot Noir, but in some way you find the same finesse and the same freshness that you have in both wine.
And you mentioned you use stems for the first time in the 17 Rivera. Is it something you will do with Bricco Pernice or Vigna Elena, or what is you think your taste is moving in that direction?
I will do for the same for the other two wines. The point that what's really important that not every year is the same, so we cannot introduce the same percent of this full cluster every year. So we need to have very flexible, understand, and to have a great interpret of the vintage. That is the goal that you can do. I introduce a little bit the whole cluster because I love the finesse of the Pinot Noir, and this is the reason that I introduced this method. Because in this way you have a little bit touch of vegetal, a touch of vegetal character, but in good way, of course, that improve the finesse and the elegance and the complexity into the wine, into the taste.
A quick question on decanting the wine. I mean, obviously, we talked about Burgundy, we talked about Pinot Noir and Nebbiolo. We've got the stronger tannins in some wines. Would you just decant this wine?
Normally, I don't love decant the wine. I love, but if I need to decant, I decant the young vintage, not the older vintage. I prefer decant younger vintage. Like these vintages, you can decant every time, no problem. And I open just 1 hour before. It's enough for me in this way. But of course, when the wines are so young, it's much better to decant because the oxygen helps to develop a little bit the tannins. But I don't like decant too much the old Barolo.
Too delicate that you'd lose the aromas.
The oxidation is too much, and at the end we lose the flavors, the fruit.
Going back to stems, Sarah asked, how does the stems change the winemaking in terms of pump overs, fermentation, and aging? Are these things you know the answer to now, or still learning?
I'm still learning, of course. We continue to learn every year. We are not arrived in the end. Until when we are alive, we learn something, you know. And my opinion, the pumping over is the same. Don't change. Nothing change. What is important that you also to look the stems, if are very mature or are not, or are too green. It depends. You cannot say, okay, next year I will do 100% not this stem. So that is probably no sense. So you need to consider what's happening in the vineyards, and then when I have seen the fruit, I can say what's happened, you know. And so in 2020, for example, I destemmed less than 2019. 19 I have to more.
And the question of your everyday wine is your dolcetto. When you're having a special bottle of Rivera or Bricco Pernice, Nadia, I always think your taste is for more younger wines and more when there's more power to them. What age do you both like to drink the wines at? Is it young? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Depends.
The question is for Nadia, right?
Well, it's not. It's for both of you, please, if I may. Yeah. Do you agree with each other?
So the question is, Nadia prefer the younger wines or the older wines?
Exactly. What age do you drink? And these are more the Riveras, the Bricco Pernice.
Depends on the friends, depends on the food. Anyway, I like a lot Rivera because I believe Rivera can age very well. But anyway, this night I'm very surprised about my husband because he makes very good wines. And no, it's true. I'm very surprised. Yes, but it depends. I like Rivera, but anyway, this night I liked a lot Bricco Pernice. Bricco Pernice 09, for example, is.
No, we try 09, the last one.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay, let's turn to the 09.
Yeah.
This is an explosion of flavors.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion at the moment is so rich, so
Do you think it's a good comparison, 2009 and 2015?
09 is a bit, my opinion, is a bit richer
Is it?
Yeah.
In power, is more full body wine. But in the end, if you see the beautiful acidity that in the end left your mouth very clean. That is really important. When a wine left your mouth very clean, you want to drink another glass, and that is what we want to have, because that means what means finish the bottles. Because when your wine is beautiful, is good, but in the end we drink just a touch, and then okay, heavy, beautiful, but you don't want to retaste. That is not we will not get a great result.
So the 2009 doesn't necessarily show us where the 15 is going. They are distinct differences.
Yeah, here you feel more.
There's more richness here in the 9.
Yeah, it's full body wine really, and but the wine is also, the color is very dark, is very brilliant, and nothing of orange in the wines. So beautiful now already, and it's not on the top of the potential, in my opinion. I am really surprised of this quality tonight of 09. It's a long time that I didn't taste this wine. I am really happy. I am the point that I don't have too much bottle in the cellar. This is the point.
Finbar suggests game or hard cheese with the 09. Where would you be on? What would you want to eat?
Yeah, I love cheese with this wine, of course, but also seasoned cheese. Yes, seasoned cheese probably is the best. With the meat, I prefer Ravera tonight, or for me with the meat or lamb. Ravera is fantastic. Barbaresco with the lamb, maybe a little bit, probably is a little bit more delicate. But tonight, 09 with the fantastic cheese. I love it.
We haven't had the chance to taste your Barbera today, but Ian asks you, what do you think about the aging for Barbera? Do you drink it young, or do you think, to your taste again, is it something that you would age?
Barbera is a wine that I don't love to drink too old, Barbera. I prefer a little bit drink a little bit younger. Younger means around 8 years, 10 years maximum. This is the range of my ideal time. Not too. I love the fruit of Barbera. I prefer to drink fruity wine. For me, the fruit is very important to preserve the fruit in the wine. So.
And even the old pre-phylloxera vines you work with, they would also be 8 to 10 years.
Phylloxera is something special. It's different. You cannot.
So that could be longer.
Yeah, because you have more tannins, a little bit more tannins that you don't find in the Barbera. Barbera is a wine that don't have tannins. They have a good acidity, but not tannins. Who get the wines older in Barbera is the acidity, but Pre-Phylloxera has tannins, and because it's very unique and very special wine. So is a wine that you can drink in blind taste. Mostly of you make a mistake, my opinion, because mostly of this is for experience. I say that because most of the people say that is Côte d'Iron, something like this, but not Barbera, because you find this character of minerality and silkiness texture that seems to drink at the Grenache and not the Barbera. This try to do in blind taste. That is not easy to discover a Barbera behind Pre-Phylloxera.
Thank you, Valter. The wines have been a huge treat tonight. I will thank you to Nadia as well. I think I will pass to Tom, if I may, to say a little bit about the offer and the release of the wines and the timing of that. But a great treat, and cheers to Valter and Nadia.
Cheers to you, and hope to see you soon, everybody, because miss you guys always, and I hope that you come in Piedmont and invite all people that attend to this tasting here in Piedmont to drink a wine together, and also eat a little bit truffle when we have the right time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valter.
Bye.
Ciao.